Welcome back to another crochet tutorial with Cosy Rosie Crochet, and today I'm sharing with you the angry square from the In the Mood projects. This square is not designed to make you angry, but it's the one you'll make if you've had a bit of a tetchy week where things have just kind of made your blood boil. So if you're looking for some more information about how to get involved in the In the Mood project, you can find a link in the description box that will take you through to where you can grab your very own In the Mood tracker and track your moods for 7 days to work out which square you need to make for each week of the year. I'm hoping you won't have to make too many of these squares, which is a bit of a shame because it really is pretty stunning and very, very texturized. I've done it in both a self-striping yarn and in a solid colour, so you can see that the texture still speaks for itself, but when it's worked up in a variegated yarn, it does look absolutely stunning. Now the yarn I've used for my In the Mood blanket squares is this Hayfield Spirit double knitting, which is the same as a size 3 yarn in US sizing. The shade number is 0408, which is this beautiful sundown colour. And as you can see, it's self-striping, so it does variegate throughout the granny square pattern too. Now it's a 20% wool and acrylic blend, and with 345 meters on each ball, you're going to get quite a lot of these squares out of one of these balls because each square is roughly 35 to 50 meters of yarn use in total. The hook size that we're using is the corresponding hook size for the yarn, and the finished size it creates is 6 inches. So we're using a 4mm hook. Of course, you're going to need some scissors and a darning needle to weave in those ends. So gather those materials and let's get started. We're going to start by placing a slip knot on our hook. And this square starts out as much like a traditional solid granny square. So we're going to start by making a chain of 4. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. And we then slip stitch back into that first chain that we made right by our slip knot. So we just yarn over, pull through the loop and through the loop on our hook. We then make a chain of 3. So that's 1, 2 and 3. Now this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and we're going to be working into the center of this ring, not where we've slip stitched, but just underneath, and we're going to hold our tail as we work against our project so that we work over it all at the same time. So this chain 3 counts as a US double crochet, which is the same as a UK treble crochet. I'm going to work a further double crochet into the center of this ring. So we yarn over the hook and insert into the center, not where our slip stitch is, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to yarn over and work another double crochet into the center of that ring, still holding my tail against my project so that we work over that at the same time. So now have the equivalent of 3 treble crochets in the UK terms or 3 double crochets in US terms. I'm going to make our first corner by making a chain of 2. That's 2. And then we're going to work back into the center of this ring, making a further 3 double crochets. So we yarn over, insert back into the center, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. So that's number 1. Yarn over and reinsert for number 2. Yarn over, reinsert again for number 3. We make our chain of 2 to add our next corner, and we repeat that again, working 3 double crochets. That's 1, 2 and 3. Make a chain of 2 to create the next corner. We're going to work our final block of 3 double crochets. That's 1, 2 and 3. Before we join, we need to make that last corner by making our chain of 2, and then we are ready to join to the top of our chain 3. So there's the first, second, there's the third chain. I'm just going to insert my hook kind of through the middle, making sure that I pick up 2 loops of that beginning chain and slip stitch to join. So at the end of round 1 you will have 12 double crochets, and you should have 4 corners, each with a chain 2 in there. Going into round 2, we start with a chain of 2, which does not count as a stitch. So we're going to work back into where we slip stitched, working our first double crochet into the same stitch as, or join as, our chain 2. So I'm just going to yarn over and insert and work my US double crochet. We're then going to make sure we work into the next stitch, pulling it around so I can see where that next stitch is. So there's the second one. So we yarn over, insert under both loops of the stitch, pull through 2 and pull through 2. Work our third stitch here into that next stitch along. So it looks like we have 3 double crochets, and that brings us to our corner where we're going to increase by working 2 double crochets. That's 1 and 2. Keep that corner shape by making that chain of 2, and then we work a further 2 double crochets into that same chain 2 corner space. You have to be very careful that your first stitch doesn't disappear under your corner, because it's quite hard to see. So just pull it around and look for 1, 2, 3. So we need to find that first stitch, which is just at the bottom here and right above this first post. So we yarn over and we're going to insert to work 1 double crochet into each of the next 3. So that's 1, 2 and 3. That brings us back to our corner, and once again we're working 2 double crochets. That's 2. We chain 2 before working a further 2 double crochets into the same chain 2 corner space to recreate that corner. We're going to repeat that around for each side, so make sure you find that first stitch that might be hiding underneath your corner and work 1 double crochet into each of the next 3. So there's number 1, 2 and 3. That brings us to our corner where we work 2 double crochets. That's 1 and, oh, I did that wrong, 1 and 2. We chain 2 to keep that corner space, and then work a further 2 double crochets back into that same chain 2 space. I'm going to repeat that for a final time, so make sure you find that first stitch right underneath your corner to work that first double crochet, and we work 1 double crochet again and for a third time, which brings us back to our final corner. We're going to be working 2 double crochets. We then chain 2 before working a further 2 double crochets, and that completes our final corner, and then we're ready to join to the top of our first stitch. So we ignore our chain 2 and we go into the top of our stitch. You can see the post there. I'm just going underneath both loops to slip stitch to join. So at the end of round 2 you should have a total of 28 double crochets, which gives you 7 on each side of your square, and you should have 4 corners still made with those chain 2 corner spaces. With round 3 we're going to be starting working that texture by making front post and back post stitches, because they're the stitches that have been selected to represent those angry feelings. We start with a chain of 2. Remember that chain 2 does not count as a stitch, and we're going to be working around the front post of our next stitch. Now, because of that pesky chain 2, I'm also going to work around that. So a post of a stitch is not the stitch at the top, but this is the post of the stitch, this kind of line or bar in the middle. So that's a post, that's a post, that's a post, and there's your stitch at the top of it. Because we have this awkward chain 2, I want to kind of hide it. So we start with a front post double crochet. So because we've got that chain 2 there, we are going to insert our hook, not into the stitch, but into the space between the last stitch that we worked and that chain 2. And we're going to come out of the front. That makes it a front post because we're going in from the front, out the back and out of the front, so it keeps everything at the front. Before we do that, of course, we do need to yarn over because we're working a US double. So we insert the hook. As I said, I'm going around the chain 2 as well. So I'm going in, so it comes out of the back, and then I'm coming out of the front around the post of that first stitch. So we're then going to yarn over, bring our hook back through, so it kind of hugs around that post of the stitch. We pull through 2 as normal, and then we pull through 2 to complete the stitch. This is going to help hide our chain 2 and start off this round as well. So we start with a front post double crochet, and that is followed by a back post double crochet. So the back post, you're going to yarn over the hook, and this time we're going around this post here, but we're going to come from around the back. So I'm just popping my finger on to keep that loop in place and coming out, and then I'm going back out of the back of the square so that it looks like my hook is completely behind my project. We're going to yarn over and bring your hook back through. Let's try that again so it doesn't go blurry. So we go from the back, so we're almost inserting our hook around the back, coming through the gap between the post and back out. So you can see that if you're looking at the front of your project, your hook is basically hidden. We yarn over, bring it back through, might have to wiggle it a little bit. You've still got your 3 loops as normal, but we pull through 2 and we pull through 2. And that pulls that post out to the back. So once we've done our front post, back post, we're front posting again. So we yarn over the hook, we're going where the stitch is directly behind and back out the front. We yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We've got front, back, front. This time we're going to go around the back. So we yarn over, we're going around the back, so we come from the back of the square out. We're going to go back through, so we've just got that one post on our hook. Yarn over, bring it through. Oh my God, blurry every time. So we yarn over, bring that hook back through. Still got your 3 loops as normal. Yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. We've got one final post to work around. So we've just done one around the back. So the final one is to go around the front. So I'm so quick because I love this stitch so much. We go through the post and back out the front. And this time we're coming out of the corner space, but don't worry about that. We're going to yarn over, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. So it's hard to see the texture, but it's already forming and it's on both sides of this square. So it makes it a bit reversible by doing that front post and that back post. Now this has brought us to our corner. We're going to work our normal corner. So we're working 2 double crochets into the corner. So that's 1 and 2. We chain 2 before working a further 2 double crochets into that corner space. So at the moment we have 1, 2, 3 front posts and 2 back posts. You see how they stand out from the front and the back. For this side, we're doing the full side. Oops. Now that we've worked our corner, we're going to work this full side together. This is our first stitch. We don't have to worry about the stitch disappearing because we're working around the post this time. So we yarn over the hook and we start with a front post. So we're going into the corner and out the front to pick up that first stitch. So yarn over, in and out the front for a front post double crochet. We pull through, bring our loop up, pull through 2, pull through 2. So the next one is going to be a back post. So we yarn over. This time we're going around to the back and coming out of the front. And I kind of fold it to get just that one post on. We yarn over. I don't know why it blurs out every time. There we are. Pull through 2 and pull through 2. So that was a 1 front, 1 back. We're back to the front. So we're going in from the front, around that next post. Bring a loop up, pull through 2, pull through 2. Going around to the back to get that next loop or next post onto our hook. You can see I just tilt it so I can see what I'm doing. It doesn't matter how you're holding it, as long as you're successfully getting that post onto your hook. So that was the back post. We do a front post. We've got a back post here. It's a bit twiddly getting it through those, back around that back post, definitely. And then we finish with a front post, which comes out into our corner. There we are. So that's the full run of them. So you've got your 2 double crochets, and then you worked around the front post, back post, front post, back post, front post, back post, front post. And look at that texture already. Once you've reached your corner, you're going to work 2 double crochets, a chain of 2, and a further 2 double crochets. And we're back to working those front posts and back posts. So we yarn over, and the first one after the corner, we're working around that first post, followed by working around the back post. Around the front. If you're ever unsure of which one you need to be working around, you see how the back post has been pulled back. So you're going around that next post, and there's the stitch you would be working in. And then around the back of the next. Around the front. These are a bit closer together because they're in the corner. For that back post. And then finally, at the last one, we should be working around the front with our hook at the front as well. That's brought us back to our corner. So once again, we're working 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and a further 2 double crochets before we return back to that same pattern repeat of working that front post double crochet around that first one after the corner, and alternating between the front post and the back post. So the next one is a back post and another front post. I'm just going to repeat that over to the corner. So back post, front post, oops. And then the final one should be around the front again. That brings us to our final corner. So we work those 2 double crochets, a chain of 2, and 2 double crochets into that chain 2 corner space. Drop that one. And we have 2 stitches remaining. So obviously we're going to start with a front post. And then finally we work around the back post. So where on earth do we join? Well, much like we have before, we skip that chain 2 and we're joining to the top of that first stitch that we made. So we skip the chain 2 and join to the top and slip stitch to join. Now your pattern should be the same on each side of your square. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 front posts and 3 back posts. My tail indicates my wrong side where you'll see those back posts. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the back you should have 3. So in total you should have 16 front post double crochets and 12 back post double crochets, and you'll still have your 16 double crochets, 4 in each corner with your chain 2 corner space. I would love to know how you're getting on with your post stitches. Let me know in the comments. If you, like me, absolutely love them and you think I've just taken way too much of your time up showing you, I apologise, but I absolutely love them. So rounds 4 and 5, we are essentially repeating round 3 because we're just working around the front post and the back post to the corner. Let's start round 4 together. So we start with our chain of 2, just like we did before. We're going to start by working a front post double crochet around that chain 2 and the stitch from the round before. So we yarn over the hook and we're inserting around that chain 2 and that first post to work our first front post double crochet. And you'll see that the back posts are now further away from you. So when you insert from the back, it'll be much easier to allocate and isolate that post. So then you work a back post. You're alternating your front post and your back post with each stitch over to the corner. We've got a front post. Obviously we've got 2 extra stitches from where we increased in our corner. So we do a back post around the first one. And at the just before the corner, we work a front post around that last double crochet. So where we've already worked in our previous row, it just extends that texture for us. So we've still got those back posts that we did before, and there are our front posts. In the corners, we repeat our usual corner, which is 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and a further 2 double crochets. Before we go back to our pattern repeat, we start with a front post after the corner, and then we work around the back of the next post. Once you've done those first 2, you can feel that that one is front post. So we just repeat that. So front post, around the back of the next, and then around the front post. And we just repeat that all the way across, working around the front post, followed by the back post, and then we end on that front post of the last double crochet before the corner. And then in our corners, we're working 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and a further 2 double crochets. Just at those 2 stitches before that next corner, so we do a back post around the first one, and then the last one before the corner, we work our front post. And you should be continuing your texture up, both for the back posts and for those front posts. In the corners, we're doing 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and a further 2 double crochets. Around that first double crochet after the corner, we do a front post followed by a back post, and we just repeat that all the way across and all the way around our square. And we're doing that for 2 more rounds. We're repeating round 3. So this is round 4 that I'm doing, and round 5 is the same. So I'm going to just leave you to carry on working around, working your front posts and your back posts. You can use the timestamps to navigate to the beginning of the round if you get a bit confused, but the rounds are the same. It's just the number of front posts and back posts will increase by 4 on each round. And your stitch count at the end of round 5 will be a total of 32 front post double crochets. There'll be 28 back post double crochets and 16 double crochets at the end of round 5. So continue around until you've completed rounds 4 and 5, and I will meet you for round 6 and 7. I've just finished round 5 and I'm just joining to the top of that first post stitch that I made that has inexplicably gone tiny. There we are. As I mentioned, you should have at the end of round 5, you'll have 8 front post stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 back post stitches on each side. If yours is pulling in a little bit in the center, it's just the nature of the stitch. We are going to have to block these ones, I'm afraid. So for rounds 6 and 7, we are essentially repeating round 2. So we start with our chain of 2, We work 1 double crochet into the same stitch as our chain 2, and then we are working into the stitches in 1 double crochet into each stitch across to the corner. So we're just not doing any more post stitches for 2 whole rounds, which is going to make things a little bit nicer for you, I'm sure. So we're simply working 1 double crochet into each stitch across to your corner. There we are. 2 more, top of those double crochets from the previous round, and then into your corners you're working 2 double crochets, that's 2, a chain of 2, followed by a further 2 double crochets into your same chain 2 corner space. We are at risk, as always, of losing that first stitch under our corner, so I do just follow it up from the stitch, and there is your first double crochet to be worked into right at the top of that post. So we're going to work 2 rounds of this, so we're repeating round 2 for 2 times for round 6 and 7. We're working 1 double crochet into each stitch around. In the corners we are working 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into each of the corners, and then obviously we're skipping that chain 2 when we joining to the top of that first stitch that we made at the end of each round. Once you've finished round 7, your total stitch count will be 108 double crochets, and you will have 4 chain 2s, 1 in each corner. I'm not going to stay on camera with you while you finish your square, but this is what it should look like, and as you can see, mine does dip in a little bit, and it is just the nature of the post stitches. This one just needs a gentle blocking to bring it out and square up those edges. So if you find that yours is also kind of dipping in, the stitches are there, it just needs blocking into shape. It is simple, it's as simple as that. It just needs a gentle blocking to get to the right size, and that will finish your beautiful angry square. So I've just finished up round 7, and I'm joining to the top of that last stitch. And yours may be as wrinkly as mine, but a simple lay down and a little bit of a stretch will help flatten out that square initially. It's this bit that needs to come out, which is why it might need a little bit of a light blocking. So at the end of round 7, you should have a stitch count of 108 US double crochets, and we just need to fasten off to finish our project. You notice that I've just undone that slip stitch because the way that I'm fastening off these squares is a little bit different to normal. So I'm just giving myself about a 6-inch tail, and then I'm going to bring that tail through the top of my last stitch, and I'm going to thread this tail onto my needle. I'm going to use the invisible join to close that final gap. So I go underneath the first stitch of the round, pulling tightly, and then we go back through the back loop of that last stitch that we worked, and we want that to disappear. You see, if I pull tightly, it completely disappears, and we're just left with our stitches that we've worked. So it won't change your stitch count. I'm going to rethread my needle because it's just fallen off. And to secure that, I'm going to make a small knot at the back of my project, working through the loop of just one loop of the stitch at the back, and make a very small knot at the front of my project facing me. So when I pull tightly, it becomes invisible and it does not affect our stitch count. That's the important thing, because obviously we have to do our edging. So it's not the normal invisible join, because that would add in that last stitch, but we This way we maintain our stitch count, but our end is secured at the rear of our project, and we can just weave in that last tail. I really hope you've enjoyed making the angry square, and it has not, in fact, made you any angrier. And instead you're sat there very proudly having made all these beautiful post stitches. Thank you as always for joining me. I will see you in the next video.